Welcome to today's explainer. So I want you to imagine, just for a second, voluntarily locking yourself inside a massive, completely abandoned penitentiary. And not just any prison, but one widely known as the absolute most haunted place on Earth. Oh, and you aren't just popping in for a quick daylight tour, you're staying for a full 24 hours. Well, in the source material we're diving into today, the hugely popular creator Jimmy and his crew do exactly that. It's this fully immersive 3D captured experience at the infamous Ohio State Penitentiary. We're going to break down exactly how they blended this raw, visceral fear with their signature high-stakes challenges, all while navigating a pitch-black maze of terrifying history and trying to keep their sanity completely intact. Okay, let's start by talking about the sheer scale of this place because it's absolutely wild. The crew isn't just hanging out in some creepy old house in the suburbs. This is a 130-year-old former prison, and it boasts over 250,000 square feet of pure haunted nightmare fuel. It is literally massive. Like Jimmy points out right at the start, it's a 6-story facility, one of the biggest prisons in America. And at its core, it's a really grim place where a lot of people died. The place is so incredibly expansive that they could walk around all night and not even see the whole thing. The architecture alone, super intimidating. It really sets a deeply unsettling stage before the sun even goes down. All right, let's get into section 1, Ghost Hunting Gear Explained, or the Tools of the Trade. So look, you absolutely cannot just stroll into a pitch-black, massive penitentiary empty-handed, especially when your whole goal is to find out if the ghost rumors are actually true. To survive the night and, actually capture any potential paranormal activity, the team had to bring a very specific tech loadout. Their survival kit included a ton of flashlights, because obviously you kind of need to be able to see a ghost to find one. They also relied heavily on walkie-talkies to stay connected, since they were inevitably going to split up, along with night vision cameras equipped with infrared meters so they could actually capture footage in absolute total darkness. But hands down, the most crucial tool in their entire arsenal was the EMF detector. The crew treated this little device like it was the ultimate arbiter of truth. Jimmy explains it pretty simply. If the electromagnetic frequency in the room changes, the device lights up red. So for the crew, they treated any spike into that red zone as a direct, undeniable signal of something otherworldly. It really wasn't just a prop for the camera. It became a massive source of genuine tension. Every single time that little red light blinked in the dark, you could see the atmosphere instantly shift from playful to totally panicked. Moving right along to section 2, Spooks, Scares, and Sirens, Navigating the Nightmare. Once they finally got base camp all set up right in the middle of the prison, the crazy reality of their situation really started to set in. It was time to split into groups and explore notorious hotspots like the hospital, the church, the attic, and, of course, solitary confinement. Almost immediately, all that initial bravado completely fades. Tariq, one of the crew members, captures the mood perfectly when he just goes, "Dude, I don't like this anymore." As they're navigating these dark, cavernous hallways, the raw, visceral fear becomes so obvious. I mean, crew members are literally begging not to go out on patrol. They're complaining of sudden headaches and openly admitting they are terrified. They're constantly jumping at shadows, totally convinced they're seeing figures standing at the far ends of the hallways. But, because of who these creators are, even moments of extreme, genuine terror are instantly turned into an opportunity for a ridiculous challenge. In one particularly pitch-black area, Jimmy spots this super creepy dark hole and immediately turns to Tarek, offering him a flat $500 cash stare right on the spot just to stand inside it for 10 seconds. Tarek actually starts to count. 1, 2, 3. But the fear is just way too much. He completely refuses the money. And honestly, that tells you a lot about the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of this facility. Normally, money talks, right? Well, in the Ohio State Penitentiary, fear shouts. And wow, that fear eventually peaks in a massive, instantaneous way. While they're out exploring a super long hallway, the crew suddenly hears what sounds exactly like a blaring siren. Naturally, the EMF detector starts going absolutely crazy, lighting up red. Then a cameraman spots unexpected movement on the night vision footage. The reaction? Pure, instant, absolute panic. They literally sprint away. They completely abandon the investigation and just flee right back to the safety of base camp, openly admitting to the camera, "We had to run back to base camp. We are scared." But here's the thing. The scares aren't just made up in their heads. They are deeply, deeply rooted in the very real and very dark history of this building. When the crew visits solitary confinement, they step into a place with a truly grim past.
They recount the historical tragedy of an actual inmate named James Lockhart. Facing a 1 to 15-year sentence for attempted murder, Lockhart apparently couldn't stand the agonizing reality of solitary confinement. He ended up covering himself in lighter fluid and burned himself to death right there in his cell. It is a really sobering reality that firmly anchors all this spooky atmosphere in documented historical tragedy.
So, right in that very same cell block, the crew decides to improvise a seance to see if they can communicate with whatever might be left behind. Here's what they do. They place their trusty EMF detector right in the middle of a circle, and they just start asking questions out loud into the dark. Were you a prisoner? Were you a guard? Do you speak English? They ask the spirits to step up and touch the device for yes, and step away for no. And get this, at one point, a crew member actually reports feeling shortness of breath, watery eyes, and chills, all right at the exact moment the EMF detector flashes red. It is just an incredibly tense, immersive moment of supernatural exploration.
Which brings us to Section 3, High Stakes, Hide and Seek, Cash Prizes in the Dark.
Okay, so just when the tension reaches its absolute peak, the energy abruptly pivots. Because let's be real, you cannot keep this specific crew in a dark place for long without them turning it into a massive game. It's such a wild contrast. On one hand, you have this historically grim, terrifying setting where people genuinely suffered, and on the other, you have these wealthy creators playing absurd, lighthearted cash prize games. Jimmy basically decides that just meandering around the dark is over and announces he is going to go hide somewhere in this 250,000 square foot maze.
And the stakes escalate so quickly. For round one, Jimmy offers a $1,000 bounty to whoever finds him first. But when the guys manage to locate him hiding in a closet, basically by reasoning he'd pick a spot with good lighting for the camera, he decides that was way too easy. So he doubles down. Round two features a massive $2,000 bounty. It's 12:16 in the morning, deep into the night, and he gives the crew exactly 20 minutes to search the pitch-black facility to find him. So the crew forms teams, and they are just frantically searching through the downstairs cells, even heading all the way toward the prison chapel. They are literally jumping at loud bangs in the dark while trying to win this cash. To taunt them, Jimmy texts a hint. I'm in a very unexpected spot. Well, despite their absolute most desperate search, the 20-minute timer completely runs out. The crew ultimately loses out on the $2,000, only to realize that Jimmy had managed to stay hidden in a dark cell the entire time, practically right under their noses. And finally, Section 4, Surviving the Haunted Penitentiary. Morning light. After the terrifying sirens, the tense seances, and the high-stakes games of hide-and-seek, sheer exhaustion just simply takes over. I mean, the crew actually has to sleep in this place. There's a lot of pretty humorous banter over the sleeping bags and figuring out who has to sleep on the outside edges to act as the group's ghost shield, but eventually they pass out right on the hard floor of this 130-year-old prison. When morning finally breaks, the relief is so palpable. Jimmy wakes the crew up to celebrate, yelling, "We entered thinking we would get possessed by a demon. Squad is alive." They actually made it through the full 24 hours without any demonic possession, absolutely no ghost attacks, and in their own words, they were Gucci. It's a really fun, lighthearted end to an incredibly intense night. So we've seen exactly how this crew balanced the very real, heavy dread of a historically haunted location with their unique brand of high-energy entertainment. They had all the best gear, they had the safety of numbers, and they still ended up terrified, sprinting back to base camp in the absolute dark. So I have to ask you, if you were in their shoes, sitting right in the middle of a 250,000 square foot abandoned prison at midnight, would you step into a pitch-black solitary confinement cell for $500?